There are moments in life when everything becomes quiet, a little too quiet. The phone doesn't ring as often. The house feels bigger than it used to. And sometimes, in that silence, a question begins to grow. Do I still matter? If you've ever felt that way, even for a second, I want you to stay with me. Because what I'm about to tell you might change how you see your life starting today. You see, the world moves fast. It celebrates youth, speed, and constant change. And somewhere along the way, it forgets to say something very important to people like you. People who have lived, loved, struggled, sacrificed, and survived. So let me say it clearly, slowly, and with respect. You still matter. Not a little, not sometimes. You matter deeply, every single day. Maybe you've spent years raising a family, building a career, taking care of others. Maybe you gave your time, your energy, your dreams to make sure someone else had a better life. And now, things are different. The roles have changed. The responsibilities are lighter. But instead of feeling free, it can sometimes feel like something is missing. That feeling, it's real, and you're not alone in it. A lot of people over 65 quietly struggle with this shift. It's not always talked about, but it's there. The feeling of being less needed, less seen, less heard. And when that feeling stays too long, it can slowly turn into doubt. Doubt about your value, doubt about your place in the world. But here's the truth. That feeling is not the reality. It's just a story your mind has learned to repeat. And today, we're going to change that story. Because your value does not disappear with age. It evolves. It deepens. It becomes something stronger, wiser, and more meaningful than ever before. Think about everything you've experienced, every lesson you've learned, every mistake that taught you something important, every moment you had to be strong, even when it was hard. That kind of life experience, you can't buy it, you can't rush it, and the world still needs it. There are people who need your wisdom. There are people who need your calm voice when life gets confusing. There are people who need to hear your story, even if you think it's ordinary. Because to someone else, it's exactly what they need to hear. Staying connected is not about being everywhere or knowing everything. It's about small, meaningful moments. A simple conversation, a kind word, a shared laugh. These things may seem small, but they carry incredible power. And confidence. Confidence at this stage of life is different. It's not about proving anything to anyone. It's about knowing who you are and being at peace with it. You don't need to chase approval anymore. You don't need to compare yourself to others. You've already walked your path, and that path has shaped you into someone strong, capable, and valuable. But here's something important. Confidence doesn't just appear. It grows when you take small steps, when you choose to show up, even when you don't feel like it, when you try something new, even if it feels uncomfortable. Maybe it's joining a local group. Maybe it's calling an old friend. Maybe it's learning something you've always been curious about. These small actions, they wake something up inside you, and slowly, you begin to feel it again. That sense of purpose. Purpose doesn't have an age limit. It doesn't disappear after retirement. In fact, for many people, this is when purpose becomes more personal, more meaningful, and more fulfilling. You now have something you didn't always have before: time. And that time is not empty. It's full of possibilities. You can use it to create, to connect, to give, to grow. You can use it to rediscover parts of yourself that were waiting patiently all these years. And let me tell you something very important. Enjoying life fully doesn't mean doing big dramatic things. It's not about changing everything overnight. It's about appreciating the small moments that make life beautiful. A quiet morning with a cup of tea. A walk outside where you feel the sun on your face. A conversation that makes you smile. These moments, they are not small. They are life itself. When you start noticing them, something shifts. You begin to feel more present, more alive, more connected to the world around you. And that connection, it matters more than you think. Now, let's talk about something practical. Because motivation is not just about feeling good. It's about doing something with that feeling. First, start with one simple action each day. Just one. It could be as small as stepping outside for 5 minutes or sending a message to someone you care about. The goal is not perfection. The goal is movement. Second, take care of your mind. What you think about, you become. If your thoughts are filled with doubt and negativity, your world will feel smaller. But if you begin to focus on gratitude, on possibility, on what is still good, your world starts to open up again. Third, stay curious. Curiosity keeps your mind active and your spirit young. Ask questions. Learn something new. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you keep growing. Fourth, remind yourself of your worth. Not once, not sometimes, but regularly. You've lived a life full of experiences. That alone makes you valuable. You don't need to earn your worth. You already have it. And finally, don't isolate yourself. Connection is powerful, even if it feels difficult at first. Reach out, join conversations, be present. The more you connect, the stronger you feel. Now, I want you to take a moment, just a moment, and think about this. What if the best part of your life is not behind you? What if it's right here, waiting for you to notice it? Because it is. You still have the ability to laugh deeply, to love fully, to learn something new, to make someone's day better, to wake up tomorrow and choose to live with purpose. And that is something incredibly powerful. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. And you are certainly not finished. You are still here. And that means something. So the next time that quiet voice tries to tell you that you don't matter, I want you to answer it. Calmly, confidently, without hesitation. I still matter. Say it again. I still matter. Because you do. And if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of something you needed to hear today, stay connected. There's more to come. More stories, more encouragement, more reminders that your life still holds meaning and joy. Make sure you don't miss the next video. It might be exactly what you need to hear next. Sometimes, the hardest part isn't starting over. It's believing that you're allowed to. You wake up, go through your routine, maybe sit quietly for a while, and a thought crosses your mind. What should I do now? And instead of excitement, there's hesitation. Not because you don't want more from life, but because somewhere deep inside, you're not sure if more is meant for you anymore. Let me gently challenge that thought, because the truth is, this stage of your life is not an ending. It's a transition, a shift from living for responsibilities to finally living for meaning. For many years, your life may have been guided by what needed to be done. Work deadlines, family needs, daily obligations. You were needed, constantly, and you gave your time and energy without question. But now, things are quieter. And that quiet can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. But what if that quiet is not emptiness? What if it's space? Space to choose, space to reflect, space to reconnect with yourself in a way you may not have had the chance to before. And yes, at first, that space can feel confusing, because no one really teaches us how to live in it. There's no manual for rediscovering yourself after 65. No clear instructions on how to rebuild confidence or create new connections. But that doesn't mean it can't be done. It simply means you get to write your own version. Let's talk about confidence again. But this time, in a deeper way. Confidence at this stage is not loud. It's not about proving strength to the world. It's quiet. It's steady. It's the kind of confidence that comes from knowing you've made it through life's storms. Think about everything you've faced. Losses, challenges, changes that you didn't expect, and yet you're still here. That alone is proof of your resilience. So when doubt shows up, and it will, you don't have to fight it aggressively. You simply acknowledge it and remind yourself of your truth. I've handled difficult things before. I can handle this too. That's real confidence. And confidence grows stronger when you begin to take small, meaningful risks. Not big, overwhelming changes, just small steps that gently push you forward. Maybe it's speaking up in a conversation instead of staying quiet. Maybe it's sharing your opinion, your story, your experience. You might think it's not important, but to someone else, it can be incredibly valuable. Or maybe it's stepping into a new environment, a community center, a class, a group activity. The first time might feel uncomfortable. That's normal. But discomfort is often a sign that you're growing. Now let's talk about connection, because this is something many people struggle with, especially as they get older. Connection doesn't always come easily. People move away. Life changes. Social circles become smaller. And over time, it can feel like the world has become distant. But connection is not something that disappears. It's something that needs to be rebuilt, sometimes in new ways. You don't have to wait for someone else to reach out. You have the power to take the first step. It could be as simple as a phone call, a message, a short visit. These actions may feel small, but they open doors. And here's something important to remember. People are often waiting for someone else to make the first move, just like you. So when you reach out, you're not just helping yourself. You're creating connection for someone else too. And if you don't have many people around you right now, that doesn't mean you're stuck. There are always opportunities to meet new people, even later in life. Local groups, volunteer opportunities, shared interest activities. These are places where connections begin naturally, without pressure. You don't have to impress anyone. You just have to show up as yourself. Now, let's shift to something equally important. Enjoying life fully. This is something many people misunderstand. Enjoying life is not about chasing excitement all the time. It's about learning how to be present in the moment you're already in. When you slow down and truly experience what's around you, life starts to feel richer. The sound of birds in the morning, the warmth of sunlight through a window, the comfort of a familiar place. These are not ordinary moments. They are meaningful ones. But we often overlook them because we're used to thinking that happiness has to be big and dramatic. It doesn't. Happiness can be quiet, gentle, steady. And when you begin to appreciate these moments, something changes inside you. You feel less rushed, less pressured, more at ease. This is where real enjoyment begins. Now, I want to give you something practical again. Because understanding is important, but action creates change. Start by creating a simple daily rhythm, not a strict schedule, but a gentle structure, something that gives your day a sense of direction. Include one activity that moves your body, even lightly. A short walk, simple stretches, anything that keeps you active. Include one activity that engages your mind. Reading, learning, solving a puzzle, or even reflecting on your own thoughts. And include one moment of connection, talking to someone, even briefly, sharing a smile, a conversation, a memory. These three things, movement, engagement, and connection, can completely change how your day feels. Also, give yourself permission to try something new without expecting perfection. You don't have to be good at it. You don't have to master it. You just have to experience it. Because every new experience adds something to your life. It keeps your world expanding instead of shrinking. And one more thing, be kind to yourself. There may be days when you feel low, days when motivation is hard to find. That's part of being human. It doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you need rest, patience, and understanding. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you care about, with encouragement with compassion, with respect, because you deserve that. Now think about this. What if the life you have right now is not something to get through, but something to truly experience? What if instead of waiting for something to change, you begin to see what is already here? Because right now, in this moment, you still have the ability to shape your days, to choose your focus, to create meaning. And that is something no one can take away from you. So don't underestimate this chapter of your life. It may be quieter, but it can also be deeper, more intentional, more fulfilling than anything before. And as you move forward, step by step, you'll begin to notice something. You're not just passing time anymore. You're living it. There's something powerful that often gets overlooked at this stage of life. And that is your story. Not the short version you tell people in a few sentences, but the full story. The one filled with moments no one else saw. The quiet sacrifices. The difficult decisions. The times you had to be strong when no one was watching. That story has value. But many people reach this point in life and begin to feel like their story is already written, already finished, as if nothing new can be added, nothing meaningful can still happen. That idea is simply not true. Your story is still being written, every single, and what makes it even more meaningful now is that you have perspective. You understand things in a way you didn't before. You see patterns, you recognize what matters, and you know what doesn't. This is something younger people are still trying to figure out. So instead of thinking, what do I have left to give? Try asking a different question. What can I share? Because sharing your experience, your lessons, your insights, even your mistakes can have a powerful impact. Sometimes it's in a conversation with a younger family member. Sometimes it's with a friend. Sometimes it's simply by being present and listening. You don't need a stage. You don't need a large audience. Your presence alone carries wisdom. And here's something important. Your story doesn't have to be perfect to matter. In fact, it's often the imperfect parts that connect the most. The struggles, the doubts, the times you didn't have all the answers. Those are the moments people relate to. Those are the moments that remind others they're not alone. Now let's talk about something that quietly affects many people. The fear of becoming irrelevant. It's not always spoken out loud, but it's there. The world changes. Technology moves fast. New ideas come and go. And sometimes it can feel like everything is moving forward without you. But relevance is not about keeping up with every change. It's about staying engaged with life in your own way. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to understand every new trend. What matters is that you remain open to learning, open to connecting, open to experiencing. Even small efforts make a difference. Learning how to use a new device, understanding how to communicate with family in modern ways, exploring something unfamiliar. These actions may seem simple, but they build confidence. They remind you that you are still capable of adapting. And adaptation is a powerful skill. You've already done it many times in your life. You've adjusted to new roles, new challenges, new environments. This is no different. Now, let's go a little deeper into something that can truly transform how you feel, and that is contribution. There is a unique kind of fulfillment that comes from giving, from contributing to something beyond yourself. And contribution doesn't have to be big or complicated. It can be as simple as helping someone with advice, volunteering a small amount of your time, being there for someone who needs support. These actions create a sense of purpose that is hard to replace. Because when you contribute, you remind yourself that you still have something meaningful to offer. And you do. Every skill you've developed, every lesson you've learned, every challenge you've overcome, all of it can be used to make a difference in someone else's life. Even a small difference matters. Now, let's talk about something very personal. The relationship you have with yourself. At this stage of life, this relationship becomes more important than ever because you spend more time with your own thoughts, more time reflecting, more time being present with yourself. And if that inner voice is critical, negative, or dismissive, it can slowly affect how you feel about everything. So here's something to consider. What if you changed the way you speak to yourself? Instead of focusing on what you didn't do, focus on what you did. Instead of thinking about what you've lost, think about what you still have. Instead of questioning your worth, remind yourself of your strength. This shift may seem small, but it changes everything because your thoughts shape your experience. And when your thoughts become more supportive, more encouraging, your world begins to feel lighter. Now, let's bring this back to enjoying life fully. Enjoyment is not just about external experiences. It's also about internal peace. It's about being able to sit quietly and feel content without needing anything else in that moment. That kind of peace doesn't come from outside. It comes from acceptance. Acceptance of where you are. Acceptance of your journey. Acceptance of yourself. And when you reach that place, something remarkable happens. You stop comparing. You stop wishing things were different. You stop feeling like you're behind. Instead, you begin to feel grateful. Grateful for what you've experienced. Grateful for what you've learned. Grateful for the time you still have. And gratitude, it has a way of transforming ordinary days into meaningful ones. Now, let's take a moment to focus on something practical again. If you want to feel more connected, more confident, and more fulfilled, start by creating small moments of intention throughout your day. When you wake up, don't rush. Take a moment to breathe, to notice how you feel, to set a simple intention. It could be something like, today I will stay open, or today I will connect with someone, or even, today I will be kind to myself. This simple practice sets the tone for your day. Throughout the day, check in with yourself. Notice your thoughts. Notice your energy. And gently guide yourself back when needed. And at the end of the day, reflect. Not on what went wrong, but on what went right, even if it's something small. A good conversation, a peaceful moment, a step forward. These reflections build a sense of progress, a sense that your days are meaningful, because they are. Now think about this. You are not just living longer. You are living deeper. You have the ability to see life in a way that is richer, more thoughtful, more intentional than before. And that is something truly special. So don't let the world convince you that this stage is about slowing down and fading away. This stage is about becoming more aware, more present, more connected to what truly matters. And as you continue forward, remember this: your story is still unfolding. Your presence still has impact, and your life still holds purpose, more than you may realize right now. And now, as we come toward the end of this message, I want you to pause for a moment, not to think about the past, not to worry about the future, but to simply be here right now. Because this moment, this very moment, is still yours. No matter your age, no matter your circumstances, no matter what has happened before, you are still here. And that means your life is still active, still meaningful, still full of possibility. A lot of people spend their later years looking backward, wondering if they did enough, questioning their choices, replaying old memories. And while reflection can be valuable, staying there too long can quietly take away the joy of what's still in front of you. You were not meant to just look back. You were meant to live forward, not in a rushed or pressured way, but in a calm, intentional, meaningful way. Because the truth is, life doesn't stop offering moments just because you've reached a certain age. It continues every single day in ways that are often simple but deeply fulfilling. A smile from a stranger, a kind conversation, a peaceful afternoon, a new idea that sparks your curiosity. These are not small things. These are reminders that life is still moving and you are still part of it. And yes, there may be limitations now. Physical changes, slower energy, certain things that are not as easy as they once were. But even with those changes, there is still so much within your control. Your mindset, your attitude, your willingness to stay open to life. These are powerful things because when you choose to stay open, you allow new experiences to enter. You allow connection to grow. You allow joy to return in ways you may not expect. And it doesn't require something big or dramatic. It begins with a decision, a quiet, personal decision that says, I am still going to live my life, fully, honestly, and with purpose. That decision, it changes everything. Because from that point on, you stop waiting and you start participating. You start noticing more, appreciating more, feeling more connected to the present moment. And slowly, something begins to shift inside you. That feeling of being left behind starts to fade. That question, do I still matter, becomes quieter. And in its place, a new understanding begins to grow. I am still here. And that is enough to begin again. Because that's what this stage of life truly offers. Not an ending, but a chance to begin again in a different way. A way that is less about pressure and more about presence, less about proving and more about experiencing, less about rushing and more about appreciating. You've already done so much. You've already given so much. Now, this is your time to also receive. To receive peace, connection, fulfillment, and moments of quiet happiness that stay with you. And as you move forward from here, carry this with you. You still matter, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. Your presence has value. Your voice has meaning. Your life still has purpose, and it always will. So take that first step, no matter how small it feels. Reach out, try something new, step outside, speak kindly to yourself. Allow yourself to enjoy the day in front of you, because this day and the ones that follow, they are still part of your story. And your story is not over, not even close. And if this message spoke to you, if it gave you even a small sense of hope or comfort, then stay with me on this journey. There are more conversations like this waiting for you, more reminders, more encouragement, more moments to help you feel connected, confident, and at peace. So make sure you subscribe and don't miss the next video, because sometimes the next message is exactly the one you need to hear. Until then, take care of yourself and remember, you still matter.